This is the Water Quality Association podcast promoting better water quality around the world. And hello, I'm your host, Wes Bleed.
So if your company doesn't have an AI bot that can then communicate and explain what makes you unique and what makes you different to these personal assistants that are coming, and frankly, they're already here, it's just they're not really widely adopted, where does that leave you?
That's Bryan Trilli with Optimized Marketing talking about the future of AI and its impact on the water treatment industry. And welcome to the Water Quality Association podcast, the weekly podcast from the Water Quality Association, the leading voice of the residential, commercial, and industrial water treatment community. Find us at wqa.org. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We're glad you're here. Please subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a show. That's the magic of podcasting. In this episode, we take a look at marketing, AI, the water treatment dealer business, and building a solid workplace culture. Our guest is Bryan Trilli, a former water treatment dealer with multiple locations, who now helps dealers grow their business through his company, Optimized Marketing. He also runs an AI training company. He has also written a new book on AI called Soulless Intelligence, How AI Proves We Need God. We'll discuss how AI applies to both marketing as well as running a water treatment business. We'll look at how love factors into your workplace culture and where he sees the next opportunities in the marketplace. It's all coming up on the Water Quality Association podcast. Bryan, great to have you on the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
We wanted to get just a brief introduction of who you are and what you do. I know you've had an extensive background in the water treatment industry, and that's going to be very interesting to our listeners and viewers. But you kind of spread out beyond that in the last, decade or so. And I think that would also be interesting because that's primarily in the marketing space. And now you're bringing in the AI element to that. We've had an AI discussion of a few podcasts ago where we used part of the session at convention on AI as part of the subject for the podcast. And so I know that's been of great interest to our members. So anyway, let me toss it over to you for your background.
Sure. So I'm a former multi-location colleague and dealer. I had a couple of locations in the Southwest. And I founded a marketing company. It's called Optimized Marketing. Started that in 2011 based on the relationships and the things I learned running my dealerships. And also involved in artificial intelligence. We started using in marketing in 2017, but also run a company called imagesearch.com. And that company is a training company. So we train people on how to use artificial intelligence to take information out of videos and images. And also just released a book last month. It's number one bestseller called Soulless Intelligence, How AI Proves We Need God.
Okay, so there are just a number of elements there we could touch on. Let's go back to general water treatment for just a second here with your connection to the industry as a dealer owner and now consulting on the marketing side. What are you seeing these days? What's got you most interested?
So, having said on both sides, as a dealer and then also now helping dealers grow their businesses, artificial intelligence is one area that I think has massive potential that not a lot of people are utilizing.
Yeah, and what is your sense of when you're talking with your clients about AI? Are they interested? Are they ignoring you? Are they thinking it's great, but it's too complicated? Just where are things?
It's probably a bit of all of it. I think at this stage, 47% of Americans still haven't even heard of ChatGPT. And so there's a lot of people, they don't know what they don't know. So for instance, one of the tools that we utilize with artificial intelligence is we can take a recording of a sales rep, a sales manager, the owner, whoever is involved with sort of the relationship building initially with the prospects, and we can personalize that so that it says, "Hi, Wes. Appreciate you contacting us. We'll be reaching out to you soon. We have lots of customers in your city name, and it blends in personal touches based on what you filled out on the website, but it's a video that you don't realize is AI generated. And so these are tools and technologies that you can use today to get better results and to be more effective, what you're doing, set more appointments. And most people just aren't aware that they're out there.
Now, are these videos you're talking about, are they like showing an avatar or what?
No, it would be you. Like if we would do a recording and we got your approval, Wes, you got a verbal approval, I could then make you say anything I wanted and people would generally not know the difference.
Well, that's the scary part, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You got to make sure you're giving the right people that you trust access to that. The powerful thing, and that's the challenge with AI. That's why we wrote the book, that I'm a full believer in the potential of AI, but it's like electricity, right? You can use electricity to power a city, or you can use it to electrocute a person. And that doesn't mean you don't use electricity. That doesn't mean you say, hey, this is too dangerous. You insulate it and you do things you can to be safe with it. But by all means, you absolutely use it.
Right. And again, going back to the average dealer who might be thinking about AI and might be saying to himself or herself or their team, hey, we don't really need that. That doesn't really touch our industry. We're all about installing the next water treatment product. That's what we do.
Yeah, let me give you two points on that. So the first one is how people find you and learn about your company and trust you. Like, how do they even become customers? Used to be, and still is, primarily, they go to Google, maybe they go to Bing, and they put in, who makes the best water software, who's the best water treatment company in my area, or, which company is the highest rated, and they get search results. And so you're working on your SEO and you're doing paid search and all these things to show up so people find you. And right now, that's still highly relevant. That is the 80-20, the majority of people are still finding you that way. However, with the release of GPT in their app, with Gemini, which comes from Google and their AI, now people can go directly to an app and say, ask this question, and the AI systems, the large language models, find the answer. They go and read the websites. They look at the reviews. They categorize these things, and then they give you an answer. They don't send you to a website for you to do your own research. They just literally tell you, hey, this is who we think is the best solution. And you might be surprised if you go to GPT and you ask it that of your area, whatever city you're on, just say, who is the best water treatment company or who's the best water software company in X, wherever you live, if you come up or not. And where is it getting that information from and how does that work? So not the simple, but the most honest answer is nobody really knows how well that works. Even the people that have developed the technology, this is not programming that is if this, then that. It is making its own connections and aggregating the information and being trained in a different way than normal programming. That's why they call it AI. However, we have some clues. Some of those clues, for instance, would be your review profile. Do I have really good reviews on Google? Do I have really good reviews on Yelp? Do I have really good reviews? That's a significant factor. The better you have in that review profile, the more likely AI is to recommend your company because it trusts that more, these third parties and these third-party sites, than your local website. Now, of course, your local website still needs to address whatever services you provide. So if somebody is asking about bottled water or drinking water systems or commercial or whatever, like those things all have to be addressed as well. Even better if your reviews mention those particular services. So that's number one. Even if you're saying, hey, I'm installing water softeners, how does this affect me? If that's not affecting you today, maybe that's 2% of people. A year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, that's only going to grow and grow and grow. Which leads me to the second point. The leaders in AI, so people like Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, which is the company that created ChatGPT, which is the most popular AI tool right now. He has talked about what's the future going to look like is all of us are going to have a personal AI assistant. And so this assistant's going to know everything about me. If I want to schedule a reservation in a restaurant or a flight, or I'm looking for a new roofer, or doesn't matter what it is. My kid's struggling with trigonometry. Any question that I have, this AI assistant is going to know about me. And not even the things I tell it. Like it's going to read my emails and it's going to read my text and it's going to listen to my phone conversations and it's going to know everything. Right? It's you can see that as scary or not, but that's where we're going. Okay. Now, when I say I'm interested in water treatment, do I need that? You take your phone and you take a picture of your dishes, you take a picture of your faucet, and you ask the AI, do I have hard water? And it's going to look at the buildup on it and say, yeah, it's most likely that you have a hard water, and also in your area of the country, that's X amount of people do. And based on what city you're in, the public reports of the city water say that you have 8 grains of hardness more than likely, and it's going to spit out all this information. Never talk to a single human being. It doesn't consult you. It doesn't ask you for your advice on this as the water expert in your local market. And now this individual knows they have hard water. Okay, interesting. Now what? Well, ultimately, what's going to happen then is it's going to say, well, who can treat this? Who can help me with this? And your AI bot right now is just reading information from the internet. But long term, and whether this is 2 years or 5 years, nobody really knows. But the way we envision it, we predict this is going to happen is it's going to then communicate with the bots from various companies. And so
you're talking about
need to be considering.
Yeah, you're talking about a chat bot that would be on your website that you would say, hey, if you have a question, click here and we'll try to answer it.
Yeah, it's a little bit more advanced than that, but that's the basic concept. Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. So
it might have questions about, I took a picture of where I think my water softener would go. So it's where the water inlet's coming in. Is there a drain there? And you take that picture and the AI says, there's no drain. I don't see one. Oh, wait, it's over here. Let me get you another picture. Oh, okay. Now I see the drain. It'll measure the distance. It'll say, oh, you have 3/4 inch plumbing. That means you're going to need this softener. Well, all of that information that the AI now has about your area, if it can't discuss that with your version to know that, oh yeah, we can deal with 1 inch plumbing versus 3/4 inch, or you have a huge house and it's a different size and that's 1.5 inch or something, or it's commercial application, that it's not going to ever get the information it needs to then recommend your company to me, to the person, the end user that's asking the AI to do this research for me. Does that make any sense, or is that getting
out? Yeah. Well, would the AI aspects of this be also applicable to somebody who's on site? They're a tech, they're an installer, they're doing something. They've got some issues that they're trying to figure out the flow coming into the house. They're trying to figure out the size of the pipe they might need, things like that. Can they plug that into an AI source?
That's an excellent question. So there's a few ways to look at that. So we actually released a tool to our Culligan dealer clients, and you can do this for CNI or residential or whatever, where we took all of their manuals and we uploaded them to the AI, and just now you can go and say, hey, what is the flow rate drop for this unit? And it goes through all the manuals and finds it. Or, hey, what's this error code mean on this unit? And it goes through the manuals, finds the error code, and how do I troubleshoot that? And so anything, I think in CNI it has even more applications because you generally have a broader range of applications and options and systems that you can use and so on, that you can essentially create a tool that in an instant can answer any question across 50, 100 manuals worth of products. At my own company, at Optimized Marketing, we use tons of systems and processes. My background and training is actually in engineering. And so I'm very adamant about consistency in delivering a consistent result for people. And so over the years, we've developed 500 plus how-tos, just things within the marketing world. How do I set up this and this website and track this and run an experiment and so on? Well, now we have an AI agent. We train the AI agent. So somebody new joins our team. They just go to the agent and say, well, how do I set up a web form? And it just finds the result and spits it out to you. They don't have to go find a document, read through it or anything. So that exact same process is applicable for basically every company that has any knowledge in writing.
But then I'm thinking, okay, do you upload all of those things if if there's some level of confidentiality involved and you don't want that material out into the Ethernet? So two things there. One, most of those manuals are public anyway, right? If I go to the manufacturer's website, their product manuals, their service manuals, you can just download them, in which case it's already in the system, right? You're just essentially focusing it to say, I only want you to look at these, not the billions of others that are out there. So that's one. Two, if it's not out there and you are saying, hey, this is proprietary, we don't want people to be able to get to this. I don't want to train GPT or Gemini or any of these big AI companies on this stuff. You can create your own models, and that gets really complex. It's probably more depth than we want to get into today, but you can own your own AI, and there are open source tools out there. Mistral is one of them. Llama is one from actually Meta put out, so Facebook. And
You can create your own, put it on your servers. Definitely more work to figure out how to do all that. But if privacy is a concern, that's all there. And there are companies that can help you put all that together.
Which sounds like another iteration of AI, right? Hey, go ahead. Here's, download this tool, download this app, and you can create your own AI world, if you will.
Yeah, and you'll see that. So let's say from a manufacturer's perspective, you could use that as a sales tool separately from the service tool. So the service tool is one that you have questions about your equipment or applications and so on. Maybe you only make that available to your customers. So not the end user where it's getting installed, but the people that are buying, the equipment from you, the dealer network, right? And that just helps them get questions answered so they spec your equipment more often. So that's one application. The other one would be at the sales side of now having it geared to be less technical in its answers, but more to whatever action you want to take next. So if the next action is, this is the system that can work for you, and it's this drinking water system or this water softener or this, whatever water treatment. However, to really know, we need to test your water. And so here's how you can get in contact with us. And that turns into a sales agent. Does that make sense?
Well, to some extent it does. Yeah, it sounds great. and to the point that it doesn't make sense, I'm certainly understanding that there's much more to explore. So, are you hearing?
The takeaway that I would hope people would take from this is what you said initially was, hey, I'm just installing water softeners. How does this affect me? At the very least, hopefully now you say, wait a sec, this is going to affect me either in how customers find me or interact with me, or how I train my own team and use these tools to make them more efficient and more effective at what they do.
Well, I'm glad you brought that back up, because I wanted to ask, how much can we influence then the results that the AI apps are going to find about the material that you just talked about in terms of the answer? Who's the best water treatment dealer in the area? How would you go about influencing that?
Yeah, and that's an open question. It's kind of like the early stages of what search engine optimization is. So search engine optimization, just to be clear, is how people find you in normal search. So what title tags do you use and what meta descriptions, and that's evolved over the years. And there's this whole cat and mouse game. And that goes back to the beginning of search engines with Lycos and Yahoo and so on. So now the end result is similar, right? I have a question, I have a problem, I put it into this agent, and it's going to go and pull the information from me. How does that work? Well, that's even less clear than SEO is. Anybody that tells you that I can tell you exactly how to rank in the AI tools right now is not being honest. And the secondary part of that is, so GPT-4o came out. It started GPT 3.5 and then 4. So every few months they're releasing a new model. How dramatic is the difference between the first model to the next one? And when GPT-5 comes out, there's always these updates that are going to be changing. So what would our best advice be based on what we understand about this space? Is it's actually not that different from SEO. It's third-party sites. A lot of the times when we look at the search results, so that Bing would integrate with their AI tool, which is the ChatGPT, they're referencing not sites that say, hey, this is my individual company site, but one of those top 10 sites. These are the top 10. Angie's List will sometimes do aggregators, Home Advisor will do aggregators, things like that. And so if you can get into those and be part of these recommendation agents, that helps. I already mentioned earlier, I think the biggest factor is, do you have good third-party reviews, and do those exceed that of your competitors? So if you have 100 reviews, but they have 500 reviews, 100 might seem good, but it's not, there's a percentage difference, right? And then the other one would be the relevant information. So if your terms speak in a way that answers the question. So what do I mean by that? If I'm looking for the best water treatment company, essentially I have to answer that. Why am I the best water treatment company? And a lot of websites don't do that. They don't just come right out and say, hey, this is why we're the best in this area. And if you do, what AI is doing is it's trying to predict the next best word or phrase or token is technically what it is. And if you give it the beginning of that sentence, then it now is more likely to use you to predict the rest of it. Does that make sense, or am I kind of getting too technical?
Very good. Very good. Okay. Hey, let's move a little bit in the direction of the team building consulting that you also do. because you've got clients who, in some cases, and we'll kind of address our manufacturing friends here, they might have multiple locations around the world, and they are trying to make sure that the team is functioning as well as it can. But we also have the smaller dealer who might have, half dozen, maybe a dozen or so employees, and they have some team building, team issues, culture issues as well. What can you talk about there, and from that standpoint? What's hot and productive in these days?
Well, what's hot has been true for all of humanity. So I've been on both sides of this. So I've been an individual dealer. So I get up in the morning and show up, and I have my route drivers coming in and service guys and office people. And so we're seeing people face to face. And, so I know what that looks like. I also have two companies that are fully remote. We've never had an office. There are people that have been on my team sometimes for up to a year before I ever meet them physically, face to face. So all of our recruiting, all of our training, all of this is done remotely. And so we have 5 or 6 countries that my team is from right now. And it's actually, I don't know the answer because my team members move around. So I don't even know what countries they're in sometimes. And so that's a very, very big difference. And yet the core answer to the question, how do you build a strong culture, to me is pretty simple. And that is, you have to love people. And when you say that, people are like, what are you talking about? That's kind of weird. All right, so you have to understand the true definition of love, or at least the useful definition of love, which is to will the good of another. And this can be looked at from a few different angles. One, I want to will the good of my customers. I want my customers to get phenomenal results. We want them to get more leads. We want their businesses to grow. And if that's not your core reason for existing, then you're going to run into problems. Now, if that's true, I believe the money will come and you will be successful. And certainly we've been, my company blessed beyond what I deserve by living that out. But what does that look like for a team? Well, it's similar things. If I really want my team members to grow, to learn, to innovate, then you have to show that you care about them. If you don't care about them, all the things that, let's say the big tech companies do with free lunches or ping pong tables or whatever, it doesn't really matter if you're then going to send them an email to fire them, right? Which is the culture that is built up there. We got all these fancy perks, but at the end of the day, we don't really care about you as a human being. And so when I see somebody that's struggling remotely, they're on the other side of the world, or face to face, if I was at my dealership, you have a conversation. Hey, is everything all right? Are things going okay? You need some time. Oh, my dog died, or some of my family was sick, or hey, my baby is not doing well. And okay, you have to figure out, can you help them address that need, right? In business and work, if I have team members, what I should really be doing is empowering the things that are most important to them. And if I believe that what's most important to them in their life is their job, I'm just deluding myself. That's just not true. It's their spouse, it's their children, it's their faith, it's these things. And we like to pretend for some reason that work is the most important thing. And it certainly is crucial. And it certainly is important because that enables you to take care of your spouse, to take care of your children, to support your faith or charities or whatever you're into. So it is a factor, but it is not, for most people, certainly not millennials and younger, the defining factor in their life. And if you don't understand that, then it's really hard to have a really deep care and love for those individuals because you're just focusing on wealth. You were off today because you're going through a divorce. Well, I don't care about your divorce. I mean, good luck, right? Like that's, how is that person ever going to be productive if they don't have some time to process that and know that somebody cares about them? It's just not, and divorce is an extreme example. That doesn't happen that often, but things happen in people's lives. And so that's our core culture point. It actually, multiple companies that I've owned, to love in the sense of willing the good of another, that I do want the best for my team members. And when you screw up, you make mistakes. If they know, well, you were trying that to help, it doesn't matter. And there's actually research around that.
Research around, I'm sorry?
So there was, in Search of Excellence in the book, they had this experiment where they were trying to figure out how to increase productivity in a manufacturing plant. And so they thought lighting might be the solution. So they increased lighting, made it more light. And what happened? The productivity went up. They're like, well, okay, well, maybe it was some other factor. So let's test this. Let's bring the lighting back down to below. It's now darker than it was originally. What happened? Productivity went up. So why did their activity go up when the lighting was up, when it was down? Because it wasn't the lighting, it was the fact that somebody cared.
Right.
And so these people saw that, oh, well, management's trying to help me. They're trying to make me better at what I do. They care. And so people respond to that.
Yeah. And just in general, where do you see the future of work? I know you're obviously supportive of remote work. You're supportive of, I would imagine, hybrid work. But just in general, and there seems to be more conversation these days about the 4-day work week. Where do you think this is all going?
So that's a deep question because of AI. So let's answer it from the simplest perspective. So I have a team that's worldwide. How did I get there? We just ran ads online, and the best people that we got through our system. We run through 3 to 4 interviews. We test people. We have them go through skills assessments. They just happen to not be in the U.S. There wasn't a goal at any point to ever say, hey, we don't want people from the U.S. I mean, still half my team's, maybe not half yet, something like that. It's 40% maybe is U.S. based. But it was just the natural result of we want the best people. Where are they? And I don't care where they are. And so that I think is going to be more prevalent. I think you're going to see companies that aren't restricted. I don't need to have a marketing person or a phone person or whatever physically in my office. How can I get better people at different parts? So I think that will continue to occur. The research around, you'll hear different things like IBM brought everybody back, Yahoo brought everybody back, and so on. It's less efficient. Well, the reason that didn't work was because they didn't know how to run a remote team. And that's a whole deeper discussion. It's not because remote teams don't work. It's because I took a physical environment and tried to just apply it remotely and said, wait a sec, this doesn't work. Let's bring it all back to the physical. Well, no, I agree. That doesn't work. This is a very different thing. You have to have daily meetings with your team members. You have to have regular check-ins. We ask people on a regular basis, how happy are you at work, through anonymous polls and surveys. And that sort of connection that you don't really think about when I see the person every day, because I assume I know about them because I'm physically next to them. You have to make efforts to do that differently, to do the collaboration, to do brainstorming, and these things that might happen more organically. And so if you just assume, act the same way, it's going to fail in a remote environment. The second part of this, what does AI do for this? I was giving a talk yesterday, and the summary is just about anything you can imagine, AI will do better than humans in the future. How far into the future depends on the thing. So research has already come out to show that contract rating is going to drop in cost about 99.97%. That means a contract that you would have paid a lawyer to write $10,000 to write last year, now it can be written for $3. That's quite a difference. So what happens? Do we just have less lawyers, or do we have more contracts? Historically, as things like the cotton gin came, so that new technology, we had more people enter into the textile industry. Why? Because people now, instead of having 2 outfits, have 20. So the demand went up. Was the demand going to go up for all the things that AI can instantly help, such as legal, such as accounting, marketing, pretty much any knowledge work? Healthcare is, that's going to be hopefully completely revamped with the help of AI. And I think it's unlikely that all of those are going to grow fast enough at the replacement rate that AI can replace capabilities. That being said, where it's currently at, you have to be really good at what you do to get the most out of AI. So if I am not a good doctor, really don't understand the medical field, and I get some output from AI, I might think that's brilliant. But a doctor who has some experience would be like, well, that's not entirely the real story, and there's some things missing, and let me tweak and have a little more of a conversation with AI to get to the truth. The same is true in marketing. If I'm a marketer and I'm an okay marketer, I can use AI to churn out emails and landing pages and marketing pieces and scripts and so on. And I'd be like, man, these are great. But it's because I'm an average marketer. It's because I really don't know what great looks like. It's just great to me. And that's where we're currently at. That if you want to be really good, you can scale yourself using these technologies, but only as good as you are. You have to get better first before you can get solid output. I'll pause there for a second, because that, I think, is not something people talk about often, that the abilities of AI are limited by your ability to understand its quality.
That's very well said, and it really drives the point home. I want to just kind of wrap up the conversation with thoughts, recommendations, ideas for the budding entrepreneur, somebody who, can imagine themselves with a dealership someday, or beyond that, something else, maybe multiple companies, such as yourself.
Man, now is an exciting time to be solving problems, right? That's what entrepreneurs do. We find some gap in the market and we try and solve it, because there's so much. If I want to create a website, I can use artificial intelligence AI tools like ChatGPT to create it. I can use it to create images. We had a conversation with a client recently. They were a bottled water company, and they have this story, this legend of how Mark Twain drank water at the spring where they get their spring water from bottled water. In the middle of the conversation with them, we just said, oh, okay. And I went to GPT and I created an image of Mark Twain and their spring water drinking it. And I'm like, can we use this? And it was done. Like, before the end of the conversation, literally their website was already updated with this. And maybe we made it look too easy for that particular update. But the point there is, whatever opportunity you think you can improve in the world, get deep into messing with and using these large language models, whether it's the big ones, the GPTs and the Geminis, or ones you're going to control on your own, because they will assist you in getting to market faster and creating faster and doing market research faster. I mean, there's so many ways that you can utilize those. Personally, if I didn't have businesses and a family and sort of the responsibilities, and I was starting over from scratch, I'd be spending a lot of time in healthcare. I think there's huge opportunities for revamping and improving the healthcare world with AI. But whatever industry you're particularly interested in, man, they're so underutilizing. I don't care what the industry is, what the manufacturing. Just, if you're a young person looking to do, find an industry that you're interested in and figure out where they're not using AI and fill in the gap.
Well, Bryan, thank you. How can people reach you or reach out to your team if they have a further question about some of the things we've talked about here today?
Well, first I'll give a shameless plug for our book, Soulless Intelligence. If you Google that, you can find us LinkedIn, YouTube, we're all over. If you're interested in the limits of AI and the challenges, I think, I highly recommend it. It's the only book that I know of that really addresses that, and I've read dozens on the topic. Other than that, my name, Bryan Trilli. You can find me on LinkedIn, or our website, optimized-marketing.com, would be the direct way for a marketing inquiry.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us. Very, very interesting.
Absolutely. Appreciate you inviting me on.
Our WQA tip, we have another round of instructor-led training classes coming up for anyone looking to earn their professional certification from WQA. It's a unique opportunity to learn from some of the best instructors in the industry. They can help lead you through the material and prepare you for the certification exam. Go to wqa.org/training. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Water Quality Association podcast, bringing you the latest insights and news from the association, our members, and outside experts to help you better serve your customer and grow your business. Learn more about water and water filtration at our consumer website, betterwatertoday.org, and learn more about professional certification, product certification, and how you can become a member of WQA at our website, wqa.org. Until next time, this is Wes Blee. So long from the Water Quality Association.